my name is Lani, and this is Lani's Lens, where I share my thoughts on film, TV, pop culture, and whatever else is on my mind. Today, I will be sharing my recommendations for queer media in honor of Pride Month. First, I want to say that although queer representation has made incredible strides, there is still a really long way to go in terms of inclusivity and diversity. I initially wanted to make a video about these shortcomings, including the fact that whiteness is often centered in queer media, and really all media, in addition to the lack of representation when it comes to identities like asexuality, aromanticism, demisexuality, etc. However, creators like iEmergency and Rowan Ellis have already made incredible videos on this topic that I highly recommend and will link below. And despite these shortcomings, there are still some amazing films and television shows that I love and in my opinion set the standard for what queer media could be, and I'm excited to share those recommendations with you today. But before I get started, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and comment below with your favorite queer shows and films. I'm always looking for recommendations and I'd love to hear your opinions. With that being said, let's get started. Bottoms. I'm sure most of you have seen Bottoms by now. This film is not only hilarious, but it's also amazing queer representation with its ability to center sapphic characters that are deeply flawed and immature yet still lovable, and also revitalizes the parody slash satire genre for this generation. It's everything Booksmart wished it could be and more. Like Superbad, but even more absurd and unabashedly queer. Honestly, put Io, Adebri, and Rachel Sennett in anything and I will be there. Go watch their miniseries Io and Rachel Are Single if you haven't already. It's probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
You asked a very considerate question.
Oh yeah, are you cold? And he goes, no. Lie.
If you are an ally to women, lie to their faces.
Thank you.
Also, Io, you never clocked out.
You know who else hasn't clocked out? Racism against me.
Okay, you're done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Next is the cult classic But I'm a Cheerleader, starring Natasha Lyonne and Cleo Duvall. But I'm a Cheerleader is about a cheerleader named Megan who is sent away to a gay conversion camp because everyone in her life, including her parents, friends, and boyfriend, suspects that she is a lesbian. This is a campy, satirical look at homophobia and conversion therapy, and despite that darker subject matter, it's a blast. It's hilarious, feel good, and has a pretty stellar cast including RuPaul, Prince Zuko, etc, etc. Might be biased because of my love for Natasha Lyonne, but look at the material. The film has hands down the best love confession I've ever seen and is overall just a really fun film. I haven't seen this in a while, but I just saw the trailer for the restored version in 4K and it looks amazing. The color scheme and grading for this were always flawless with its pastels and jabs at gender norms, but the unapologetic Y2K aesthetic and soundtrack in 4K is a must-watch. Next is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. In my humble opinion, this film is the epitome of a cult classic. I recommended it to a friend a while ago and she said she'd seen it before but didn't understand it, and I simply told her that this is not a film you need to understand. This is a film you experience. So I won't waste your time with a synopsis because I don't even think I could accurately explain the plot of this movie, but I don't need to. I definitely saw this when I was too young to comprehend the madness, and it probably permanently altered my brain chemistry, but I'd literally never have it any other way. There is no rhyme or reason or deeper meaning to be found here. I'm sure you could find one if you wanted, but it's not necessary. The film is grimy, sexy, campy, unadulterated queer fun, and if you haven't seen it, you need to. If for anything, just for Tim Curry, I mean a literal powerhouse. There is not a moment in this film or any film I've ever seen him in where he's not absolutely chewing on his role. Genius. And the songs from this are incredible. Rose Tint My World is 8 minutes long, and to this day I don't think I've ever skipped it when it pops up on my Spotify. The Handmaiden, also known as Agassi by director Park Chan-wook, is a thriller slash romance that follows the story of a young Korean woman hired as a handmaiden to a Japanese heiress. She is secretly involved in a plot to defraud her, but ends up falling in love with her along the way. I recently watched this film for a second time and would truly do anything to watch it again for the first time. I had heard of Park Chan-wook's reputation, but this exceeded all of my expectations. I really need to watch more of his work, though I can't comprehend how it gets better than this. Yes, it's almost 3 hours long, but it keeps you engaged the entire time with its intricate story and attention to detail. Watching it for the second time and piecing together the tiny details I missed was so fun, and it's sapphic. I wouldn't classify this as strictly a romance. The relationship between Suki and Hideko is definitely at the forefront, but their relationship and the narrative of this film transcend anything I've seen before. I can't praise it enough. Not to spoil anything, but if you like to see women be happy, gay, and win, you will love this. Moonlight. I have nothing to add. Moonlight is a perfect movie. If you haven't seen it, you are severely missing out. Like, what are you doing? This is one of the only and best depictions of queer black masculinity, and honestly black masculinity period, and I love this movie. Monster from 2024 follows the story of a single mother who is battling with her son's school to get to the bottom of his recent strange behavior. We then see the various perspectives involved with her son's behavior until we are given the full picture of what is really going on. This was one of my favorite movies of last year. I went in completely blind and left the theater in awe. It starts off pretty disturbing but culminates in a heartwarming, optimistic film that will move anyone who sees it. This film is so underrated, and it disappoints me that it wasn't talked about more. I don't want to get into too much detail because this is a film you need to experience for yourself, and I recommend going in as blind as possible, but it's truly a masterpiece that'll have you on the edge of your seat the entire runtime. Tangerine follows two transgender sex workers, Cindy and Alexandra, through the streets of Los Angeles as they search for Cindy's pimp and boyfriend Chester, who has been cheating on her while she was in prison, taking the blame for his crime. As the two friends roam the city, we get a glimpse into their lives and struggles. This film can be hard to watch at times, but it's such a tender and vulnerable portrayal of the people who are often overlooked and disregarded in our society. Sean Baker is slowly becoming one of my favorite directors, and for some reason, I put off watching Tangerine for the longest time. I think it was the guerrilla filmmaking and the use of an iPhone with that godforsaken yellow orangey filter, but I'm so mad that I didn't see this sooner. It's hard to say because I love all of his films, but this is probably my favorite. There's something so raw and real about his filmmaking in general, but this is on a whole nother level. Maya Taylor and Kitana Kiki Rodriguez give stellar performances that are unfettered and heartbreaking at times, especially Maya Taylor. The entire film takes place over one day, and it's one hell of a ride. Paris is Burning is my favorite documentary of all time. If you're all put off by the fact that this is a documentary, think again. This is bursting with energy from the second it starts. It truly feels like you've been transported directly into 1980s New York amidst the legends of the ballroom scene. We follow several rising and legendary figures in ballroom, including Willie Ninja, Angie Extravaganza, Pepper LaBeija, Octavia St. Laurent, and many more as they navigate the realities of racism, homophobia, and poverty while chasing their dreams to be seen as who they really are. This is such an educational documentary and shows the influence of BIPOC queer people who shaped and continue to shape culture both underground and in the mainstream. I know there's controversy surrounding the exploitative nature of this film's director, but I'm glad this era of innovation and legend was captured. These figures deserve to be preserved and celebrated for the rest of time. Kokomo City is another documentary that follows the lives of 4 black transgender sex workers who share the realities of their work and their relationship with the world and themselves. This doc really struck me when I first saw it last year. It's abrasive, brash, raw, and real. It's a challenging film, and similar to Tangerine and Paris is Burning, amplifies the voices of marginalized groups struggling to prove their personhood and literally just survive each day. Very powerful work. Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe is a new adaptation of the novel by the same name. This is actually one of my favorite books, and I've probably read it 4 or 5 times. Both versions follow Aristotle Mendoza and Dante Quintana, 2 Mexican-American teenagers who navigate their friendship while grappling with their ethnic identity, sexuality, and families in 1987 El Paso, Texas. I was lucky enough to see the film at my university during a special showing. This was the first time I had read a book before seeing its movie adaptation, and given my love for the novel, I had low expectations going in. However, I left pleasantly surprised. My only criticism concerns Dante. In the book, Dante is a free-spirited, bright kid struggling to hide his queerness in this small town. But in the film, he feels more like a caricature than a fully fleshed out person. The actor portraying Dante didn't capture this complexity for me. His performance really took me out of the movie when he was on screen. I just wish some of the depth and realism of the character came through. The rest of the cast, however, delivers outstanding performances, especially Max Palaya, who plays Ari, and the actors portraying his parents. Honestly, this film excels in everything related to Ari, who is truly the main character of the story. In the book, I always pictured Ari as a closed-off, reserved, and repressed character, but the film really brought him to life and managed to convey these traits while also making him charismatic and full of personality. It also nails the setting and brings to life the image of El Paso I've always had in my head reading the book, and fully embraced the 80s setting. Overall, it's a faithful adaptation that does the book justice and is a great standalone coming-of-age film for those who haven't read the book. Carol is the second adaptation on this list and truly a cozy sapphic treat. It's based on the novel The Price of Salt, which I read for the first time earlier this year. Both the book and the film follow the story of a young woman named Therese who meets an older woman named Carol while working at a department store in 1950s Manhattan. The two quickly become attached and we follow their relationship mostly during a road trip over the Christmas season. This is one of the first queer films I saw and it holds a special place in my heart. Cate Blanchett is fabulous and stunning as always, and as the years go by since I've seen this film, I appreciate Rooney Mara's reserved and understated performance more and more. This is one of my all-time favorite movies and definitely a great one to watch for Pride Month. However, I also suggest pulling this out in December when it takes place, as it is the perfect way to get into the Christmas spirit. So cozy and wonderful, and it feels just like Christmas. Now this last section includes films and TV shows that I have affectionately named queer coded. This contains some cult classic films that aren't explicitly queer, but definitely have a slight dusting of queerness and just a general air of gay. This is going to be more of a lightning round, so here we go. Party Girl. Parker Posey plays a young fashion girly in the 90s New York club scene who gives it all up to find love and follow in the footsteps of her godmother Mary to become a librarian. Yes, I quote this film daily and have based my entire personality off of it. It's incredible and I really wish it was talked about more in the zeitgeist. Like, everybody needs to watch this film. White Chicks. Stay with me. I know, stay with me. But the Wayans brothers are literally in full drag for majority of its runtime. It's queer. It's queer. Bones and All. Every Luca Guadagnino film is queer to me. Burlesque. Cher. Stanley Tucci. Alan Cummings in a burlesque bar singing show tunes. Gay. Scream, Billy Loomis and Stu Macher, gay. Then we have Showgirls. This is the epitome of homoeroticism between women. El Dorado, Tulio and Miguel. This was my favorite movie as a kid, and now I know why. It was also Elton John composed the entire score, so. That's it for my queer media recommendations. I really hope you enjoyed. Let me know if I persuaded you to watch any of these, and please comment any recommendations you have for me. I'd love to hear them. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.